Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this Ask Me Any Stock Live show that is actually starting right now. Just type a good morning, right, or GM in the chat, right, just to let us know if this is actually working, okay? So I think we already saw some of the comments early on. Good morning, Song Ho. Good morning, CK. Morning, Sri. Morning, Chester. I think some of you guys are already typing the stock in the chat already, right? So I think Song Ho is asking about ST Engineering. William is asking about Food Empire and Samudara Shipping. Great. Later, you guys can type in the stock in the chat, and then we'll actually try to cover as many as possible. All right. So good morning, Chester. Good morning, George. Good morning, Video Junkie Forever. Okay, good morning, Andy. Good to see you here again. I think we have been seeing you here for the past sessions. Thank you so much for your support. Good morning, Jenny. Good morning. Okay, so great. I think this is actually working, right? So because we saw all the comments right over here, do remember, right, to help us to click the like and the share button as well, right? So that it can actually reach more people today. And then at the bottom of the screen, there's also the heart. So do remember to help us to click on the heart as well to give us some heart and some love, okay? So in today's session, right, we'll actually be focusing on the Singapore market. So make sure to join us all the way to the end, right? Because this session, Bervyn will actually start off with a quick market outlook, right? What's actually happening in the Singapore market. Are there actually still buying opportunities right now, right? And we'll be focusing on the Singapore market, whereby Bervyn will actually look at the STI Index later on, right? And after that, you guys can let us know some of the stocks that you would like us to actually provide a quick opinion on, right, live, using Joey's One Good Trend Pro indicator, right? So that this One Good Trend Pro indicator, right, is actually a tool that's developed by Joey, which actually allows you to see the signal in seconds, right, to help you with your entries and your exits as well. So at the end of today's session, so Bervyn and myself, we will be sharing with you guys one bonus stock each. So in total, there will be two, all right, from the Singapore market that we currently like. And this is where you can potentially put the stocks into your watch list as well. Okay, so another thing that I would like to share is that we actually do this Ask Me Any Stock, right, live every Friday. So for those of you guys who have been following us, and joining us every week, right, thank you so much for your support. And today, like we've mentioned, it is the Singapore market. Last Friday is actually the US market, right? And then the next Friday will actually be the US market again. So for those of you who have, just joined us, welcome. We have just only got started, right? So welcome to the Singapore Ask Me Any Stock live session today. Okay, so let's get started, all right? So just a quick introduction. My name is Zee, and that is Bervyn. So both of us are part of Joey's team, and we have been working alongside with him for close to 5 years now. Both of us are assisting Joey with his group coaching, his mentorship, as well as assisting with the portfolio manager with our managed account as well. And both of us are also chartered holder in our respective field. Bervyn is actually holding a CFA, and me holding a CMT. All right. So now I'll pass the time over to Bervyn to actually give a short introduction about himself as well.
All right, thanks Z. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Well, welcome. Good morning, everyone. So first of all, welcome everyone to our weekly Ask Me Any Stock live session. Like Z have mentioned, we have been part of Joey's team for close to 5 years already, and I think our goal here is actually a very, very simple one. It's just to give you an analysis of those stocks you are holding, looking to buy, looking to sell. But the caveat is this is just our opinion, because we do not know your risk appetite, your portfolio, and in short, we don't have the full picture lah. Yeah, so we truly appreciate the time you guys have taken out of your schedule to join us every Friday on this session. So I hope Z and myself for today is able to give you the maximum value out of this 1.5 hours, 2 hours. So please also help us to like, share, and of course subscribe to Joey's channel right below here if you're on YouTube. And also if you're able to continue, so we are able to continue to do this for you guys and also reach out to more people as well. All right, back to you, Z.
Okay, thanks, Bervyn. Okay, so usually, right, it's Joey that actually introduced us lah. But because since today Joey is not here with us today, let me just introduce quickly about Joey, right? Just in case for those who are new here who don't really know, Joey is actually one of the top tier remisier and traders in Phillip Security. He has been in this trade for over 10 years now, right? Where he also actually conduct trainings, events, webinars, and workshops to actually teach his graduates and mentees about his one good trend strategy. So the reason why Joey is actually not here today is because he's actually on a short holiday with his family over the March school holidays. But that being said, right, he's actually still thinking about you guys. And here is what he has to say.
Hey guys, Joey here and welcome to our weekly Friday Ask Me Any Stock session. Sorry I cannot join you guys today because I'm currently traveling in China. Alright, it's a week-long March school holidays. So just kind of spending some family time, doing a quick morning run before I head back and start moving around for the day. Alright, so you're in good hands, right? Bervyn and Zee, we're going to cover a quick market outlook on the STI. I think it looks pretty strong, alright? 3,800 is a very credible support level. Seems like we have bounced off from the support level. And yeah, they'll do a quick market outlook. They'll cover the stocks, the Singapore stocks that you guys want a quick opinion on. And at the end, they'll share with you guys 2 of their favorite stocks that you want to watch and put in your watch list as well. So Joey here signing off. Have a good time. Alright, I will see you in our next Friday weekly Ask Me Any Stock session. Alright, I'll see you. Bye.
Alright, okay. So yeah, that's a very quick one from Joey. So anyway, before we move on, right, Bervyn and myself, we would like to actually apologize in advance if we are actually not able to cover all of your stocks today, okay? Because based on our past sessions, right, you know, for about 1.5 to 2 hours, with the 3 of us, that means including Joey, Bervyn, and myself, we cover about 20 over stocks, right? Sometimes 20 stocks. But today is just Bervyn and me. So we actually do our best to try to cover everything. So if we cannot cover your stocks, apologize in advance. Hopefully you can join us in the next session for us to cover them. All right. So for later on, when you're actually asking about the stocks, right, maybe you can actually give us a bit of context, right? Like whether are you actually thinking of buying or selling this stock rather than just the stock name, right? Because we won't know what you want to know about the particular stock. Okay, so let's get started. So just a quick disclaimer, all right? So whatever, right, that is actually covered today, you know, the analysis, the sharing, all of this is just for educational purposes only, right? So please remember to do your due diligence. So it's not asking you to buy or to sell, you know, or not to buy or not to sell, right? Or not to even do anything, but just remember to actually do your homework on this stock as well, right? We hope that we are able to actually give you some value. And, you know, we could potentially expect, right, based on Joey's 1GT strategy and indicator. So before Bervyn dive into the STI Index today, we want to emphasize that, you know, today's session is not about sharing with you guys the entire strategy of the one good trend framework, right? Because we don't have time for that today, right? As mentioned earlier on, you know, this session, right, is just to give you guys a quick opinion on the stocks that you would like us to cover. So perhaps like Bervyn will actually cover one, then I will cover one, then we will repeat this as many times as possible, right? So if you want to find out a bit more about the one good trend strategy and how do you actually look for entries and exits, you know, when to get in, when to get out, how do you even know if the stock, right, is actually worth looking at, right? And whether you should even actually put it into your watch list or not. That is more on the strategy part, right? So attend one of the free upcoming webinar by Joey, and he will be sharing more about the one good trend strategy, you know, how the and how this indicator that we have, right, can actually help you in a matter of seconds, right? In a matter of seconds to give you an opinion on the stocks or any asset class that you are actually looking at. So Bervyn has just put the link in the chat. If you want to find out more about that, yeah, so please register, attend one of the free upcoming sessions. So by the way, once you actually click on the link, right, you will actually be brought to this page right over here, right? And in fact, Joey's upcoming webinar is on next Tuesday, 25th of March at 7:30. So yeah, feel free to register for it, and that's where Joey will actually see you live and share with you more about the one good trend strategy. So enough about that. I'll pass the time over to Bervyn right now to actually start off with the market update.
All right, okay. On the screen right now, we have the Straits Times Index. I think it's been rather resilient. So far, we have seen the STI hold up, I mean, as comparatively to the S&P 500 or even the NASDAQ or the Dow Jones. We have held up, I think, rather well. We have bounced off that key 3,800 support. You know, once again, in the last week, we have bounced above, which is right around that 100 days moving average as well. So this is a good sign. This is a good sign that the Singapore market still remains, you know, in a good position. so that we are able to continue to see, you know, those buying pressure or those buying momentum, I would say, come back. You know, the last week or so, we have gradually actually push higher, and as of yesterday, we actually closed at an all-time high as well. Yeah, so I think this is on the backs of the FOMC over in the US side, indicating that there will be actually 2 to 3 rate cuts. You know, they're still very conservative about it. You know, the market is still a little bit skittish, I would say, a little bit skittish over at the US side, but you know, on the Singapore side, we actually see some opportunities to get in on those counters. I believe that you guys have also written down in the chat, in the comment for us to cover as well later on. But if we just zoom in a little bit right here, we can see that this 20 days moving average, this green line right here is actually just, you know, moving a little bit sideways, where we are, you know, not seeing it pointing upwards, obviously, just yet, but we are still being kept under that key, I would say, 4,000 resistance level at this point. But we also have this 1 GT bullish signal that actually came in, that shows that there's a little bit of a near-term strength that actually come in or is still present as well. So if I were to just turn on those trailing support line, you can see that right here, the prices or the index actually had tested the trailing support. Now, for a couple of days, consolidated close to it, did not close below it, so we do not have those 1 GT bearish signals that actually came in. We still managed to hold above that trailing support. I mean, that's a good sign. We want that trailing support to be holding. Why? It's because we do see this gap right here, between the price and the trailing support, the index and the trailing support. That is a sign that, or a factor that takes into account volatility for the index or the stock or any of the underlying to actually, you know, have some breathing space. So as long as it's held above that trailing support, the uptrend or the near-term trend is still intact. Of course, we do not want to see this trailing support broken, and that's not a good sign. Obviously, you know, with the stock given some space to actually breathe and still broken below it, not a good sign for it, especially in the nearer term. So I think with us being very close to that 4,000 key level, I mean, that's obviously will be the all-time high. Could we break above it soon, or could the momentum in the STI or Singapore market continue as we see some of those REITs also recovering? Could those be like a catalyst to push us even higher, push the index even higher? I think it's hard to say right now, but I think if this 4,000 level is able to break, perhaps after a level of consolidation, if any manage to break above, I think if we just do a simple projection from the 3,800 key support level upwards, sorry, just let me just get this drawn. I think that could bring us up to about the 4,200 level. That's another 5% upside. I think the overall, the trend in the STI has moved in a rather, you know, conservative way, where it consolidates a little bit, move up, consolidates a little bit and move up. And right now we are in that consolidation phase between that 3,800 to that 4,000 level. If, of course, if we see a little bit of selling pressure coming, we look to that 3,800 level to be able to continue to hold, to form a base where, you know, buyers tend to come back in. So I mean, that is a very quick update, I would say, on the market. I think it's yet to see whether the tariffs are all coming in early of April. Let's see how that will play out for the Singapore market. But as of right now, we still are rather bullish. I would say rather bullish for the STI, but I think in a conservative way, we want to see that uptrend still intact. All right, so that's it for the Straits Time Index. I see a lot of you are actually, you know, putting those stocks that you are actually holding or looking to buy, looking to sell in the chat. So maybe I'll just start with the first stock first. Okay, so maybe like Zee mentioned, just give us a little bit of context. You're looking to buy, looking to sell. You know, or am I supposed to putting this in a watch list? What you think about the direction of the stock? I think that will actually help us and also help you to get a little bit more insight. I mean, we can share our insight on that as well. So let's get started. I think one of the first one, I think Backguan is asking about Yangzijiang Shipbuilding. I think that is one of those stocks I think we are all looking at. Is it time to buy? Of course, yeah, because we actually saw that it had actually came down. Let me just clear my chart right here. On my chart right here, and we see that it actually came down, 2 weeks back, in lieu of those tariffs being on to these Chinese building shipbuilding companies, or affecting all those major supply companies as well. See a little bit of weakness come in, but it looks like it has stabilized a little bit so far. Let me just turn off this trailing support first. Okay, so right here we see that I think in the past this $3 was a good base that we actually hope that prices was able to hold above it. Was previously a support. Prices had ran up from the 150 160 level all the way up to the high of that 320 level. So we actually see that this support wasn't able to hold at some point on the 24th, 25th of February. We have 2-1 GT bearish signals coming, pop. The prices actually break all the way down. The support wasn't able to hold, but we actually right now see like a support level. You see it had actually rebounded from here sometime in July last year. Came close right to it in October. Rebound from it in the 27th of February. Actually see a little buyers come back, and then on the 13th of March, one more time we see the buyers come back in right now. So of course, this $3 level, I would say, is a key resistance level, or one of those key psychological resistance level that we actually are looking at right now. But I think in the nearer term, if you were to look at that 275 to 80 level as a resistance, that would be very reasonable as well, as because prices had previously rebounded, or say sellers actually came in from this level a couple of times in the past year as well before we finally managed to break above it. So is it time to buy? We still see that 20-day moving average not flattening out just yet. It's still heading downwards a bit. What we want to see is move a little bit sideways. We want to see it move a bit flatter, move a bit in the sense where we can actually see it consolidate a little bit, but with quite a bullish candle. I mean, we are about 1.5 hour into the market started trading. We still see a rather bullish candle at this point, but whether it will continue to push higher, I think still yet to say. We're still a little bit early in the day, but at least we have a good sign that this is one of those key levels, right? That $2.20 to about that 230 level. I would say that is a buy zone where we actually see buyers actually coming back in for this counter. All right, so I think if I were to turn on the trailing support and resistance, right here we are very clearly still under the trailing resistance. The trailing resistance is right now about just slightly below that 265, about 266 level. Yep. So if we were to just push a little bit higher, we want to see those prices push a little bit higher, preferably close to this trailing support, break above it. That's when we could get another 1 GT bullish signal coming back in. Otherwise, I think if we were to come back down to that 240 level, we want to see that 220 level hold, and perhaps even buyers coming back in. So I think background, I think you can set some alerts. You can set some alerts closer to that buy zone and maybe towards that 270 level to see if prices are able to break above or hold above that $2.20 level. I think then you can make a decision. But I think as of this point, I think it's still a little bit too early to be rushing in. Let's see if the prices continue to consolidate a little bit more first, and then eventually maybe it can head back to that $3 level. So that is for Yangzijiang Shipbuilding. I mean, back to you, Z, for the next stock.
All right, thanks, Bervyn. Okay, let me just share my screen quickly right over here. All right. Okay. So I think Chester, very early on, is also asking about this particular stock called Bumitama Agri, right? So he's saying, I'm actually holding on to these Bumitama shares and would like to know how far can this stock go. So let's take a look at this Bumitama Agri, right? So far, I mean, if we look at the trend itself, it has been pretty nice, right? Like since 2024 all the way to where we are at right now, because both the longer term trend, when we look at the red and the blue line, they are actually still heading up, right? They are still heading up. But of course, I mean, somewhere along the way towards the end of 2024, price in December rallied all the way up to this 92 cents, right? And this is where we actually start to see selling pressure coming back in to push price back down. And this is also where we actually saw a 1 GT bearish signal coming out, right? This 1 GT bearish signal coming up. But when you see this signal coming out, right, it doesn't mean that, you know, the stock will actually crash or just go all the way down, right? It just means that there is more selling pressure for this particular stock at this point in time when you actually see this 1 GT bearish signal, right? So when we see this signal, ideally we don't want to buy yet, right? We don't want to buy yet because you want to actually buy near a support level. So in this case, as we can see right over here, right, over here, this level right over here, about 78 cents, right, 78, yeah, about this 78 cents, this is where we actually saw some buying pressure actually return after the sell down, right? This is where we saw price actually rebounded from this 78 support level, and this was also the level right over here somewhere in October where prices were actually kept below it for a couple of weeks, a couple of days, right, before it actually broke above and before rallying all the way up to the resistance. So in terms of now, we can actually clearly tell that the support and the resistance level is actually this two level, right? So Chester, perhaps you want to take note of this two level as well, somewhere about the 78 for the support, and in terms of resistance near the 92 cents. So as you are still holding on to Bumitama shares, you would like to know how far can this stock go, and perhaps you might want to take some profits along the way, right? So one thing that we always tell our clients is that when you want to take profits, you want to take near the resistance level. So as of now, we have established that the resistance level is somewhere near this 92 cents, and perhaps this is where we can actually potentially position yourself to actually exit and take some profits as well, right, near the resistance zone, right? You don't have to take, like, you know, the full profit, right? Maybe your full position. Perhaps you can take 1/3, take half. That's also fine. Why? Because we can see that, you know, the shorter term trend right now, it has also been pointing up. And plus, a couple of weeks back, somewhere on 11 March, right, somewhere right over here, this is where price, the 20 days moving average has actually crossed above the longer term 100 days moving average as well, and it is also currently starting to point up, right? So longer term trend, short term trend, they are all aligned, right? So that is a good sign. That is a good sign. So somewhere near the resistance, this is where potentially you can actually take some profits. And if prices were to actually break and hold above this 92 cents, where potentially can price head towards? Where is the next targets that we want to look towards, right? So as you can see here, this is the range that price have been trading within since, you know, November to somewhere in March, where we are currently at, right? So if we do a simple projection upwards from the resistance, that would be somewhere near the $1.05 right over here. But perhaps, of course, because $1 is actually a psychological resistance, right? So that could also be a potential resistance somewhere over here as well, where, you know, some sellers will already be here queuing to actually sell their position or take some profits, right? So perhaps at this $1, we might actually see some temporary resistance, some temporary selling pressure coming back. But of course, if price is actually able to continue to hold above this, and that is where we can potentially see price heading towards, which is near the $1.05. All right, so that would be a quick analysis on Bumitama. I will pass the time back to Bervyn to actually cover the next stock.
Thanks, Z. Okay, I think the next stock I would like to cover would be this SIA. I think someone was asking about SIA just now. I think C was asking, can we get into SIA right now? All right. Okay, so for SIA, I think over the last, I think a month or so, I think we saw some rather good bullish moves upwards. And of course, a little bit of a selling come back in. I think profit taking at those levels have been pretty normal. All right, so okay, so right around about 2 weeks back, when 10th of March, we actually saw these prices head back towards that $7 resistance, or that what we call like a sell zone. So that is where, you know, people don't usually look to sell at the exact resistance, try to sell slightly below that resistance. So that's when, you know, we see selling come back in, profit taking come back in, and prices fell towards that temporary support, I would say. Temporary support about that 660 level. So I think the trends are still looking not too bad, especially in the nearer term. That 20 days moving average, of course, pointing up. We see buyers actually coming back in at that 660 levels, but I think we're rather close to that resistance right now. A little bit of a no man's land, So we are not, I would not like recommend to be rushing in at this point. But I think what we have to look at are the key levels so far. So if we are able to get in, or we were thinking of getting in, what are those levels that we want to be, trying to be accumulating at? Okay, so overall in the longer term trend, we of course still see the prices still moving sideways, that 100 days and 200 days moving average still pointing sideways, still moving flat, not moving much, a little bit, I would say on the boring side for since October. We're not able to break above that 660 level, and finally we were able to break above that 660 level, push towards that $7. But as of right now, I would say very clearly, if we turn on our trailing support and resistance, we should still see prices very close to that trailing support right here. So that trailing support is about that 660 level, which is right around our horizontal support level as well. So I think we can try to time our entry close to this 660 level, close maybe 661, 662, 663, that sort of thing. But if prices are not able, or we once again see sellers coming back in, all right, let me just change the color of this. We may see prices head down back towards that 620 level. So I think that would actually help us to formulate a little bit of a plan. If the prices break below 660, you want to have some form of a stop loss plan if you have actually already gotten in. And also if prices head towards that $7 level, nothing wrong to take some profits, partial profits, the entire profits, nothing wrong, because we saw that sellers actually had previously came back in at those levels. So but if you are intending to hold for a longer term, perhaps if that $7 level finally gives way, I think we could head back to the previous high of that 740 that was in about a year ago, somewhere in February of 2024, where prices headed towards that 740 level. So I think you can set some alerts, or if you have access to our 1GT or Joey's 1GT Pro indicator, you can also set up like a technical alert where you can actually get the buy and sell signals. If there is any new buy and sell signals that comes in, you are able to get them. Perhaps if the prices break above that $7, we could see a second 1GT bullish signal come in, reaffirming your trends, or giving you a little bit more conviction that prices could head higher towards that 740 level. All right. Okay, so that's a very quick one for SIA, Singapore Airlines. I think we can pass back to Z for the next stock.
All right, thanks, Bervyn. Okay, so the next stock that I will be covering would be this stock called Valuetronics. So I saw Sebastian is actually asking, right? Morning, would like to inquire on Valuetronics. I'm invested in it. So I believe you're actually holding some position, but not too sure when you actually buy it. But the thing is that the trend for this stock is actually looking pretty good, right? It's looking pretty good. Why? Because, I mean, if we look at it for a 1 year perspective, right? Longer term trend is definitely still intact. Both red and the blue is actually still heading up, right? But the shorter term trend, it is also looking great. But despite, I mean, over since October to actually March, right, we actually saw some sideways consolidation happening, whereby the green line is actually kind of just going up and down sideways, right? Not much movement. But somewhere in March and February, right over here, this is where it started to head up even higher for the green line, which is the short-term trend, right? So actually, I think we actually analyzed this stock last few sessions as well, in terms of our Ask Me Any Stock Live. So that's why the drawings are actually still here. But let's take a look at it, right? In terms of the 1GT signal, right, we actually see 1, 2, I think 3 and 4. There's actually 4 1GT bullish signal that actually came out, right? And the stock is actually still heading up. There's still no exits yet. And since the first signal that came out right over here to now where we are at, it has been about a 14 close to 15% rise in price. That's pretty good, right? That's pretty good. So okay, so for Valuetronics, right, if we take a look at it, we actually see that right over here, this 64 cents is previously a resistance, right? From October to somewhere in February, where prices actually tested multiple times right over here. So it was actually a resistance. It eventually broke above it, right? Broke above it. So this 64 cents has turned from a resistance to become a support. And it rallied all the way up to this 70 cents where we saw selling pressure come back in again, right? To actually push price back down. But we still do not see a 1GT bearish signal yet, right? We still do not see one. So in terms of like selling, right, for Sebastian, because you are vested, perhaps you are thinking of taking some profits along the way. So one of the levels that perhaps you might want to consider would be near the 70 cents resistance zone right over here, right? So this red box that we have drew, so this would be a resistance zone where you can consider to actually take some partial profits. But if price is actually able to continue to push higher, right, and hold firmly above this 70 cents, the projection that we actually did was based on this right over here, and we put it up, right? That would be about this 76 75 76 resistance level right over here would be the next potential targets that we can actually look at as well. All right, so that would be for a very quick one for Valuetronics. I'll pass the time back to Bervyn to cover the next one.
Thanks, Z. Okay, just hold on. Let me just see what stock do I want to cover. Hi, Chiseng. Yeah, welcome back, Chiseng. Okay, Chiseng, good time to buy Top Glove, Citrum, Yang Zhejiang Financial Holding. Okay, maybe I will cover Yang Zhejiang Financial Holding. Okay, so I think Yang Zhejiang Financial Holding has been one of those stocks that I think even Joey himself has it on his watch list as well. I think it was broadcasted to quite a few of his clients as well. So maybe just let me take the time for those of you who are clients of Joey's. Okay, who are clients of Joey's, maybe you can type C in the chat, because I believe you should have received some updates or some broadcasts about Yang Zhejiang Finance. I think even this morning you should have also received it as well. Type C in the chat if you are one of Joey's clients. All right, Chester, C. All right, great. K, C. Okay, nice. Celia, C. Okay, great. So we see that, I mean, a lot of you are Joey's client. Welcome, and thanks for your support. For those of you who are not Joey's clients, you can actually, sign up to be Joey's clients for free, no additional cost on whatsoever on your part. So that means whatever you are paying right now, on the other side, you do need a trading account to trade Singapore market. I mean, to buy any sell any shares like that, you will definitely need a trading account. And of course, Joey is a broker in Phillip Securities, so you are able to sign up to be a VIP client of his in Phillip Securities, where you will receive, his top trading ideas daily, for the Singapore market, even the market overview. So if you would like, I think Z has just helped me to put the link in the chat below to actually sign up to be one of his clients. All right, okay, so let me quickly cover Yang Zhejiang Finance very quickly. Chiseng, let's go. Let's see. We actually see what I actually noticed about Yang Zhejiang Finance would be as of this morning, it had surpassed its IPO day high price already. It has already finally broken above that 70 cents level, and we are finally above that IPO price. On the IPO day, I think for about 3 years already, we have been kept under that 70 cents level. We are finally above that 70 cents level, a good sign that confidence is in this company. All right, so if we are looking at the longer term trend, we can see that this 100 and 200 days moving average, although still pointing up, quite far away from that 20 days moving average, because prices have actually risen very, very, very quickly. I mean, from that first 1 GT bullish signal all the way up to today, that's already close to over 100% in gains already. Yeah. So I mean, the 100 and 200 days moving average have been lagging behind because you do not see much consolidations at different levels as prices went higher and higher. But it found a temporary support. I would say this is a temporary support at around that 65 cents, 65 cents level at this point, where we actually had, if you just look a little bit closer right here, you see somewhat of a bullish candlestick that appeared 7 days ago, and prices eventually pushed higher, where we actually look to break. I'm not sure if we are able to hold above this 70 cents level. As I said, it's still early in the day, but if this 70 cents level is able to be broken and held above, prices held above it, this would form a new support, and perhaps we are able to see one of those other 1 GT bullish signals that actually could come in, to firm up or to give us further confirmation of the nearer term strength as well. So I think if you are looking to get in for Yangzijiang Finance, a temporary support would may perhaps give you a zone to buy, a chance to accumulate on those dips. We want to see prices move a little bit sideways first, sideways, a little bit sideways before eventually breaking above. That is a sign of a healthy uptrend as well. So I think so far so good. I would say we can continue to monitor this counter. We should continue to monitor Yangzijiang Finance. And if that 70 cents level is able to be broken, I would say the nearer term resistance would be around that 75 cents level. How do we get that level? I think Z have mentioned just now as well. So we just do a simple projection upwards, right? From the 65 cents level to that 70 cents level, project upwards again. That's about 76, 77 cents. And I think that's where, some selling pressure will come in due to profit taking as well, because I think for those who have bought previously at the 50 over cents level, they may be looking to, lock up some profits as well. But so far the trend is still looking good. Qiseng, I think if you're holding onto this counter, still good, still continue to have it on your watch list. I will continue to have it, or I think Joey will also continue to have it on his watch list as well. So I think that's it for Yangzijiang Finance. Maybe Z, can you bring us through the next stock?
All right, thanks, Bervyn. Okay, so the next stock, right, that I will be covering will be this stock called Centurion, because actually I saw quite a number of people is asking about Centurion, right? So let me just find the comment. Okay, so Maggie is asking, good morning, Centurion can still buy at 112, right? So Maggie is asking the buy side. Then I think I saw, okay, Lam is asking, just please analyze Centurion, and Gopa is actually asking, looking to sell Centurion. So there's actually a both side, right? Buy and sell and analyze. Okay, so let's just take a look at Centurion and see what are the opportunities at this point in time. All right. So from May onwards, I mean, very clearly the uptrend for this particular counter has been intact, and this stock has been covered multiple times, I think, by Joey over the years, over the months as well, the past few months, whereby he also sent out multiples like WhatsApp broadcasts to actually alert our clients as well for this particular stock, right? So this was actually quite a pretty good 1 GT bullish signal that actually came out right over here, right? And this signal, right, actually came out because why? Price actually, if I turn on this trailing support, right, you can see that price actually close and break above this trailing resistance. So that's why we actually saw this 1 GT bullish signal that actually came out, right? And price continue to go up all the way to where we actually saw this 1 GT bearish signal coming out right over here. And this is about a close to 50%, right? Close to 50% rise in price from August all the way to December, right? So let me just clear this up. All right. So in terms of this right now, I mean, from December, after we saw a 1 GT bearish signal coming out, prices just kind of like hovering like sideways for a bit. And at this point in time, the $1 level right over here, this $1 level is actually a psychological resistance, right? Because prices neared it, came back down, hold above this 90 cents, went back up. You see this long upper shadow, came back down again, and then it tested this $1 multiple times, right? And the more times it actually test a level, the more weight we actually give to it, right? And plus, this level at $1 is actually a psychological resistance, right? So this $1 is actually one of the key level that we actually have to take note, right? But subsequently, we actually saw multiple 1 GT bullish signal coming out, not one, but four, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, four signal actually coming out. And price actually slowly started to make their way higher with the 20 days moving average, starting to slope up as well again, right? So now the 20 days moving average is actually heading up, right? Longer term trend, 100 days and 200 days, red and the blue line is also still heading up, right? So based on our previous analysis, right, based on this right over here, how we actually did the projection was that, because right over here, this was the range, right, that the Centurion was trading at. We actually projected up from the $1. So around this level, this is actually the next level to actually take note, right? But now price have actually broke and closed above this $1.10, turning it from a resistance. Actually, it was red, right? Red, and now price is actually above it, so it has turned to a green support level, right? So to answer Maggie's question, right, Maggie is actually asking, right, can I still buy at 112? Right now, I would say as long as price is actually able to hold above this new higher support at 110, then this would actually be a potential buy zone as well, right? Because this 110 has turned from a resistance to become a support, right? And what we want to do is that we want to buy when the stock is actually in an uptrend, when it's near a support, right? So this level has turned to become a support, and yes, then this level would actually be potentially an area that you can look to position yourself for entry. But of course, that being said, because price have only broken above it for a couple of days, I'm not too sure whether it can still continue to hold above it, for today. Perhaps it might close lower than it, or the next week, it might close lower than this 110, right? I'm not too sure. But perhaps we want to monitor as long as price is able to hold above this 110 firmly, right? I would say maybe at least a couple of weeks. Then perhaps that's where we can consider to position ourselves for entry. And do remember to have a stop loss plan as well if you were to enter near this zone, because this would be more of an aggressive strategy, considered like a breakout strategy, right? But what about those who are maybe thinking to sell, right? Thinking to sell. So when can prices potentially head towards? So Gopal, you were asking about thinking about selling, right? Let me see, where's Gopal's comment. Yeah, looking to sell Centurion. Okay, so for looking to sell Centurion, if prices is, definitely able to hold above this level, right? When can we potentially project our target towards, right? So one thing that we did previously is the same thing. We do a projection up, right? So we do a projection up. The next level that we are looking at probably will be around this 120 level right over here, right? So this, I will put it into red. And this would be a potential zone where you can potentially position yourself to exit, right? Or to take some profits near this 120 resistance zone right over here. Okay. But again, for those who are actually looking, a bit more conservative, right? Let me just clear all of these joints. So there is also this function whereby I believe Bervyn have also shared with you guys earlier on, and which is this trailing support and resistance level, right? So if I were to turn it on, we can actually see this green and this red shaded area, right? So these are the trailing support and trailing resistance level, which actually accounts for the stock volatility, right? So right now, price is actually still trading above the trailing support, which is a good thing, right? Which is a good thing. And like I've mentioned, we always want to buy when it's near a support zone, especially when the stock is still in an uptrend. So one way that you can actually utilize this trailing support function is that when you see right over here, when price is actually near a trailing support, right over here, this is where you can position yourself to accumulate some positions, right? So right over here, this would be where we can also position ourselves to accumulate for some positions as well, right? For those who are more risk adverse, because like what I mentioned earlier on, right? This near this 110 level, if price is actually able to hold, this is where we can also position ourselves for entry based on a horizontal support, right? But now we are talking about the trailing support, which is a bit more for those who are more risk adverse, and then perhaps this is where you can potentially set your price alerts on. All right. So I hope that covers both sides, the buy and the sell side for Gopal and for Maggie, and I hope that helps. So now I'll pass time back over to Bervyn to cover the next stock.
Thanks, Z. Okay, so I think the next stock I would like to cover is this Parkway Live REIT. I think Julian was asking what is the support level to be able to buy more. So I'm assuming, Julian, that you already are holding onto some of these shares in Parkway Live REIT, CICT, and the Fraser Centrepoint Trust. All right, so I'll just cover Parkway Live REIT. I think if you are looking to accumulate more, yes, I think perhaps maybe one of those REITs that actually have finally woken up this idea since prices have started to move a little bit higher, and we have finally broken above that $4 resistance level and now has turned into a support. So I think this is one of the reasons why you are thinking, hey, should I be buying more? But I think if we just look back into the past, can actually see that prices have actually been consolidating pretty much sideways since entire of 2024, not moving much, just moving sideways up down a little bit and then pushing higher towards that $4.30 level before sellers actually came in. Got a 1 GT bearish signal, came right here. Prices went down all the way to about the 350 level and then headed back up and consolidated once again. So I'll place this 350 level as a support at this point, as a support at this point, as a key, one of those key supports that we actually want to keep a lookout for. Although we're a little bit higher from there right now with the 20 days moving average still pointing up, but we still see a similar trend for the 100 days and 200 days moving average is still moving a bit sideways. So perhaps if you are able to see prices hold above this $4 level, I would say that would be a good sign that the 100 and 200 days moving average could start to slope up like what we see in the past right here, start to slope up and hopefully remaining to keep up as well as it keep pointing up as well. Yep. Okay, so if we are looking at the trailing support, the trailing support shows about 390 right now, but I would place the horizontal support about at $4 level. So we want to tend to try to get in closer to the support. So I think a buy zone between that $4 to that 405, 406 level could be potentially a level where you can actually see buyers start to come back in for this counter. They could accumulate on the dips right here, but if you are also looking to get in, I think you would have to also take note of the downside towards 350 if it doesn't hold. But I think we have some rather good signs or rather good confirmations with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 GT bullish signals that have actually came in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that is a good one already. So if perhaps you are able to break above that 430, which was its high in somewhere in September of last year, you could see another 1 GT bullish signal come in, which means there could be potentially more upside for this counter as well, for this REIT counter as well. If I can recall correctly, I think the dividend yield is about 3.2 or 3.4% at the $4 level. So I think if their dividend yield continues to hold and the prices continue to hold, I think yes, it could be a time to accumulate a little bit more. But usually for REITs, it tends to consolidate sideways for a little bit longer period as compared to other shares, more of a stable counter, more of a defensive place if you want to get in for those REITs as well. All right, so that's a very quick one for Parkway Live REIT. I think Zee, can you bring us through the next one?
All right, thanks, Bervyn. Okay, let me just share my screen. Okay, so I think usually most of the time, right, for all of our Ask Me Any Stock Live, we definitely cover the three banks in Singapore most of the time, right? So I'm just going to kickstart it today. So I saw Alan is actually asking about looking to buy DBS. I think some of you guys are actually also asking about the bank. You see, Lam is also asking, is it good time to buy any of the three banks, right? DBS, OCBC, and UOB. Okay, so let me do the first one. Let me just cover DBS first, all right? Okay, so for DBS, I mean, the uptrend definitely still looks good, right? It still looks good. The red and the blue line is definitely still heading up, right? I hope nobody tells me that the longer term trend is actually looking downwards. It's actually going up, okay? But for the short term trend, right? The short term trend since the start of 2025, if we just focus on the green line, we actually see that it's kind of like trying to flattening out, right? You gain some strength here, but then now it's starting to flatten out and point down a bit. So there seems to be some short-term weakness that we are seeing at this point in time, right? And in terms of, let's say we look at the support and the resistance level, one of the very clear support level that we can see right over here is actually near this $43 level, right? Because previously prices actually went up all the way to this level, right? This level right here. Sellers came back in, push prices back down. It managed to break above it, right? That's where a pullback actually happened. And over this couple of weeks, we saw that prices managed to hold and stay above this 43 level. Same thing happened over here as well. So I would say this 43 level is one of the key support level that perhaps some of you who are thinking to buy into the banks, right, such as DBS, this is where you can potentially take note as well to actually set some alerts near this support level if prices were to actually pull back towards this support level once more, right? But I mean, of course, I'm not sure if, the next few days, next few weeks, whether price will actually go back down to this 43 for you to buy that. But this is where you can potentially set some alerts to alert you if the price were to actually go back. So for example, like you see right over here, right, this black color arrow, this is where I've already set my price alert, right? So how do I do that? Is I right click, right, and I add alert, right? So I add alert somewhere near the support level, which is this green color box that I've drawn, right? Perhaps at 43.50. Then this is where I can actually create a price alert right over here to alert me if prices were to actually pull back towards that level, potentially for me to relook at it again to position myself for entry. All right. And in terms of the resistance, right? In terms of the resistance, after price break above this 43, it continued to rally up, right? So from January all the way to March, somewhere in February, early February, all the way to March. This is where we saw some short-term strength returning back to the counter again, where the 20 days moving average, the green line, has also started to point back up. But you know, at this $47 level right over here is clearly a resistance, right? Because this is where selling pressure came back in to push price back down. But of course, when it pushed price back down, it didn't go back all the way to the 43, right? It went to 44 and then it went back up. But right now, I don't know whether it will go back to 43 or 44, right? Where the buyers will come back in. Okay, so in terms of resistance, those who are thinking to maybe take some profits, right, to actually sell, right, where can you potentially look towards, right? This would be the potential sell zone that you can look towards near the $47, right? So if prices, I mean, longer term trends still look good, right? If we are able to see some short term sideways consolidation, you know, it actually stabilizes before pushing up higher, where can we potentially see price heading towards, right? So where are the potential targets that we are looking towards? So that would be probably near this level right over here, right? About maybe 51, close to 51, but perhaps that's based on a projection, right? But because $50, if we take a look at it, it's actually a psychological resistance, right? So somewhere near the $50, that's potentially where we may also see some selling pressure coming back, because that's a very nice and round number, and usually psychological level, that's where we could potentially see some selling pressure return, right? So let me just turn on this. Okay, so I talked so much, right? I haven't even turned on the signal yet. Okay, let me just turn on the signal to have a look. Okay, so right now there is a 1 GT bearish signal. So I would suggest that perhaps, right, like what I've mentioned, you can potentially set some price alert to alert you when prices is actually near a support to actually accumulate, right? Don't have to rush in to buy it, because if we take a look at where the price is at now, it's nowhere near like a support or resistance. It's just somewhere in between, no man's land, not here, not there, right? So we don't want to rush in to buy any stocks, right? We want to buy near a support. So this is where we can potentially set a price alert. And the next thing that I also want to suggest you guys to do is that if you are using this indicator, right, one thing, because whenever we see a 1 GT bearish signal, right, if prices can actually break and hold above the trailing resistance, this one that I just turned on, this red line, this is where we actually see another 1 GT bullish signal coming out again. So what you can potentially do is to actually set an alert, but this time I'm not setting a price alert, right? I'm setting what we call a buy or sell alert from the 1 good trend indicator. So once I've selected this, once per bar, open-ended, and perhaps my name, I can change it to DBS, right? Then alert fired, I create. So this, by doing so, it will actually alert me if there is any new 1 GT bullish or bearish signal for this particular counter. And when that actually happens, I can go back into the stock to take a look as well again. Okay, so that would be a quick one for DBS. I will pass the time back to Bervyn to cover the next Singapore stock.
Thanks, Zee. I think no choice. I got to cover the other banks already. Yeah. So
Okay.
okay, we have UOB right here. But before that, I think we have a question in the comments. I think Jade is asking, can the 1 GT indicator be used on hourly for day trading or strictly on daily? Yep. So when Joey was building this indicator at that point of time, it was, or it is still optimized to be used on a daily chart. So one candlestick equal to one day lah. Yeah. So you can use it for hourly trading. It will still function for you, but it will not, I will not say it is optimized for it. So I think the best way to use it for position trading, you usually hold on to the counter for a longer period of time as well. So I mean, like at least a 2 to 3 week holding period, sometimes even 2 to 3 months is also possible. Yeah, which I think the 1 GT indicator would perform much better right there. So like as you have mentioned, the 1 GT indicator allows you to receive those buy and sell alerts. You know, if I just turn on this buy and sell signals, yep. But you need to manually key in or to manually set up your alert yourself. Yep. So if that being said, I think one thing we can share is I think Joey has also this 1 GT Lite indicator one. So what we are having now is the 1 GT Pro, but Joey has the 1 GT Lite, which just gives you the signals so that 1 GT green signals, bullish signals, and the red signals will come out as well. Yep. So that one, I think Joey is providing like a free trial for the Lite indicator, where you can, once you have signed up for it, once you gain access for it, you will then be also able to set up those alerts like Zee have set up on her DBS charts as well. I think it's really, really helpful to get you a quick opinion or receive a quick alert when the prices are moving up, but I think, of course, most importantly, also when it's moving down lah. Yeah, because buying is easy, selling nobody know when to sell. Yeah, people always second guess when it's selling. Yeah, okay, so that is for the 1GT light indicator. So now let me come back to UOB. I think Lam was asking also, right, for UOB, and then maybe can force Z to do OCBC for you later as well. Yeah, so for UOB, I think or it's very clear to see that over the last 2 weeks, the banks had started to retrace down a little bit from their key resistance levels. They have actually slowed down a little bit, giving some people the chance to consider, is it time to accumulate, or are we at those levels to actually accumulate? Because I think for UOB, we see that 100 and 200 days moving average, still pointing up. Previously, we had 1, 2, 3, 4 1GT bullish signals, and prices pushed higher towards that $39 level, the $39 resistance level before selling actually came back, and I would say push prices toward that, back to that $36 support level again. I mean, we didn't quite reach there. I think prices rebounded from that 100 days moving average. 100 days moving average, not too bad. And then right now, prices are looking to retake that 20 days moving average as well. So I think if very clearly, if we are able to go above that 20 days moving average of prices, maybe push towards that $39 level again, definitely you will see that 20 days moving average start to flatten out again. So it will prices head back to that 36 to 36 and a half, $36.50 level for you to buy. Nobody knows, because I don't think the market will have to wait for me or for you to actually, push higher. But I think one thing that we can actually take note of is, if you are looking to accumulate, the bank shares, you already have some holdings as well. I think it's good to actually set up some alerts where the prices break above, or can finally break above that key resistance level. Although it may sound a little bit aggressive, but I think if this 39 level is able to be broken, I would say a new support is able to be formed at a 39 level. A breakout strategy could also be one of those plays that you can, take part in, especially by then you will then see that 20 days moving average start to point up already. All right, and then we still have the 100, 200 days moving average continue to point up, and perhaps we could also see a new 1GT bullish signal come in. Why? It's because right now we are seeing a 1GT bearish signal, and prices are trading under that trailing resistance. Right here, we see that this trailing resistance is broken. We will see that 1GT bullish signal show up again, and then perhaps that could be further upside for these local banks as well. So I think alerts have to be set, but I think right now still a little bit in no man's land, middle of nowhere. Not the time to be rushing in. We want to have a little bit more confirmation, but generally, I would say the longer term trend for the local banks are still very much intact, and I think the dividends still remain very, very, very attractive for, especially for those bank holders as well. All right, so that is for UOB. Maybe I can pass the time back to Z.
Okay, thanks, Bervyn. Okay, so I actually saw some of you guys are actually asking some of the stocks, right, that we have covered previously already. So just not to worry, because after this live show, right, the replay will be available on YouTube, right? So let me just do a very quick recap of what we have already covered, right? So for those stocks that I've already covered, feel free to watch the replay after this live and on Joey's YouTube. Okay, so the very first stock, after the STI that Bervyn have actually covered for the market update, the very first stock that was covered was Yangzijiang Shipbuilding, and then I actually covered Bumitama Agri. Okay, Bumitama Agri. The third stock will be SIA, then followed by Valuetronics, which is the fourth stock. The fifth one is Yangzijiang Financial Holdings. The sixth one is Centurion. The seventh is Parkway Life REIT. And then the eighth stock that we have covered is DBS. And Bervyn has just covered UOB. And now it's a 10th stock that I'll be covering, and that would be OCBC. Okay, OCBC. So Lam is also asking about OCBC. I think I saw somebody, Aaron, right? Aaron is actually looking to buy OCBC. Okay, so let's take a look at OCBC, right? Then we have covered all three banks in Singapore. So, like, as you guys know, Singapore, there's only these three banks, right? So majority of the time, these three banks will actually move pretty much in the same manner, right? So of course, the uptrend for the longer term is definitely still intact. But likewise, for OCBC, right, same like UOB and DBS, the short-term trend is actually showing some signs of weakness. Let me just turn this off so that it's actually a bit clearer. Okay, so if we just look at the 20 days moving average, it is indeed pointing downwards, right? It has started to point down since February, and we actually also see a 1 GT bearish signal coming out. So definitely we're actually seeing some short-term weakness again, but longer term trend rate and the blue line is definitely still looking intact. Uptrend still looking good. But right now, the 20 days moving average, right, it seems to be, it is still pointing down, right? It has not really kind of like flattened out yet. So what we want to monitor here, right, is for the 20 days moving average to actually flatten out, to actually stabilize, because we don't want to see that, the 20 days moving average actually cross below this red line, right? Because that would mean that the short-term weakness is actually still relatively strong, right? So in terms of the support, in terms of the support for OCBC, what we are looking at will be around this 1650 level right over here, the one that I've drawn right over here, this 1650 level, right? Because this previously was actually a resistance right over here, actually broke above it, right? Selling pressure came back to test this level, but very shortly, 1 to 2 days later, it actually went above it again, managed to hold above it for a couple of days before rallying up even higher towards the $18 resistance. Because right over here we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 candlesticks that's very near the $18 resistance level, and all these candlesticks, right, have actually one thing in common, which is a lot of them, actually even in fact all of them, actually right over here have long upper shadow. And what that means is that the selling pressure there is very strong, right? People are actually queuing there to actually sell or profit taking, right? Or to take some profit from their OCBC. And this is why we actually see long upper shadows on the candlestick near a resistance, right? And then prices actually came back down to retest this 1650 support level. And right now it is trading at about $17, right? So in terms of like what Bervyn mentioned, for those who are long-term bank holders, right, who want to actually accumulate on the dips, where is the potential buy zone that you can actually look at, right? That will be near this 1650 support level right over here. So this would be a potential buy zone that you can potentially position yourself for entry to accumulate on the dips, right? But for those who are actually holding on to this stock already and where you are considering to actually take some profits, then perhaps this is where you can consider to take some profits as well. You don't have to queue exactly at the $18 because you see like right over here, this few candlesticks, right? Maybe perhaps those people who queue at $18, they might not even get hit, right? Because maybe around 1785, 1790, 1770, that's where people already starts to sell. So you might want to queue slightly lower, right, to actually secure your sell order, right, rather than placing it at 18 level. But again, you don't have to take full profits, right, because this is one of those good stocks, those good blue chip stocks that you want to keep for longer term holdings to actually collect dividends. That is fine as well. So when prices is able to actually continue to head up and head towards this 18, this is where you can potentially consider to take half, partial, or even 1/3 of your position before continuing to ride the uptrend. If prices were to break this $18, then where can we potentially see price heading towards, right? So same thing, we always do this simple projection up, and that would be near this 1950, right? This 1950 level right over here. Okay, so I hope that helps to give you a better overview of the Singapore banks, like for both for all three, DBS, OCBC, and UOB. Okay, so now I'll pass the time back over to Bervyn to cover the next Singapore stock.
Thanks, Z. Okay, so let's continue that trend of financial stocks. Okay, Chloe is asking about IFast, one of those fintech companies that has been whipsawing, I would say, quite a little bit. Okay, wait, I still have a little bit of a drawings here from our last session. Okay, so I think for IFast, we had a good run up, or a very short-lived run up, I would say. Yeah, we had that prices pushed up all the way up to that 880 level very, very clearly, and then subsequently, weakness actually came in, or those profit taking actually came in. So sellers are very, very much still at that level, and it quickly melted. I would say melted through that $8, the $8 psychological support that many people were thinking that it would hold because it had tested two times in the past, in the recent past, but unfortunately, prices were not able to hold above this $8 level. Prices quickly came down, and right now, I think our key support, our next psychological support would be around that $7 level right now. So, Chloe, I'm not too sure if you are actually holding onto this counter or looking to buy at this point. But if you're looking to buy, perhaps you want to be a little bit more cautious. We have that 20 days moving average not looking too good at this point, coming down a little bit, and we may see prices hit back towards that $7 psychological support, where some buyers could come back in. But I think my worry is sometimes for counters like this, if these supports do not hold, they can come down rather quickly as well. So not a good immediate buy, I would say. But we are actually going to be looking at the longer term moving average right now. Longer term moving average where it is moving sideways. So perhaps a similar phase like what had happened in the past, like right around here. Prices just going up and down from the $7 to the $8 level. That consolidation could happen once again for IFast. And we would want to, wait for prices to break and hold above the $8 level, that we take that support level once again before we could see any further upside to that $8.80 level. So if I were to just turn on the trailing support and resistance, we are very clearly seeing that, prices are trading below that trailing resistance, which is right around the $8 level, close to that horizontal $8 resistance level as well. So I think this is a very, very, very key level that you have to watch out for. And if we are able to break above this level, that's when you can see this 1GT bullish signals actually come right back in, perhaps riding back up to that 880 level. So I think similar to many other counters, I would say this is one of those counters that you got to set up yourself for some alerts as well. Set up those price alerts, set up those technical alerts to get yourself notified when prices break these key levels before deciding what is your plan, or what is your entry as well. All right. Okay, so that's a very, very quick one for IFast. I think Z, can you bring us through the next stock?
Okay. Thanks, Bervyn. The next stock that I will be covering will be from Jason. So I saw Jason is actually asking this question. For Genting and Capital Land Invest, I want to know if I can add more. So I will assume that Jason, you already is holding this counter. Okay, so I'll be covering Genting. Okay, so for Genting, I believe you're holding this counter, but I'm not too sure when you actually buy it. But perhaps you are thinking of averaging down because you want to know that you can add more, right? Okay, so let's take a look at this particular stock. All right, so since, if I were to zoom back out, if you look at the bigger picture, actually since 2023, even like from 2024, if you just look at the past 1 year, we can see that the trend doesn't look that great, right? Especially when 2023 prices actually start plunging, right? And I mean, there is some short-term strength coming back up, but this high that you actually reached somewhere in February was actually still lower than the high that is in May, April, right over here in 2023, right? And subsequently, 1GT bearish signal came out, prices continue to push downwards. We get short-term strength again, one more time, right? One more time. But this high, once again, it is still lower than the previous high right over here, right? So we essentially, over the past couple of years, we are seeing lower highs that's actually being formed, right? Lower highs that's being formed. Okay, so if we focus on what has been happening over the past few months, not too long ago, past few months, if we just look at the trend itself, which is the moving averages, right? We see that the blue is above the red and above the green. So what does that mean? That means that the trend is actually down, right? It doesn't look too good because what we want is green above the red, above the blue, but now it's totally the opposite, right? And all these three moving averages are still kind of heading down. There's no signs of it, kind of like flattening out yet. Perhaps the green one, which is the short-term trend, perhaps there could be some signs of it like flattening out at this point in time. It's not going as steeply as before, right? Plus, we're actually seeing a 1GT bullish signal. So your question is quite valid, right? Because the thing is that if you see a 1GT bullish signal, does it mean that you have to buy in immediately? The answer is no, right? Because we still have to look at the overall trend, right? Overall trend of the stock. Because remember, when the stock trend is not so good, there could still be times whereby there is some short-term strength, such as here, right? Prices went back up. Also, same thing here. Went down, prices went back up. So these are periods whereby we actually see some short-term strength returning. But overall, the trend is actually still down. Why? Because it is still forming lower highs, right? It's still forming lower highs. So at this point in time for Jason, I would not suggest for you to actually just purely like looking based on 1GT signals and then just buy into the stock to average down, because always Joey always say this one thing: if you buy and buy and buy when the stock is going down, eventually your stock also go bye lah. So that is usually what he always say as well. So the thing is that I would not suggest you to actually rush into buying into this stock as well until we actually see more confirmation. So what confirmation are we looking for, right? First thing first, the confirmation that we want to look for is for this 20 days moving average, right, to at least point back up, and hopefully it's able to cross above the red line right over here first before we actually think of taking more actions, because at this point in time, the longer term trend and the short term trend still doesn't look too good, right? And in terms of the immediate support, where are we looking at, right? In terms of the immediate support, I will say right over here, let me just draw it, about this 70 cents right over here. This would be one of the psychological support that perhaps you want to monitor as well, because if prices can, short-term strength come back, go back up, but if it comes back down and it breaks below this 70 cents, this is where you want to be a bit more cautious as well. This is also where you want to have some stop loss plan in place, right? Because you don't want to be holding a stock that keeps going down and going down and going down, and that's where your funds get stuck. That's where you have bigger unrealized profit and loss. Okay, so I hope that helps for Genting Singh, Jason, and I will pass the time back over to Bervyn to actually cover the next stock.
Thanks, Z. Okay, I think Maggie was just asking, can you comment on Leong Asia? Sure. Okay, so I think for Leong Asia, I think it's one of those like counters that have been sleeping. I would say sleeping for a longer period of time. Has been sleeping for a longer period of time. So if we just look back, for the entire of 2023 up to mid of 2024, not much price movement. Not much price movement. It moves less than 5 cents in that entire period. I think finally since July of 2024, it had finally woken up from its sleep, its slumber. From the nap that it has been taking for a year, prices finally broke above that 65 cents level and then pushed higher. We got a few 1GT bullish signals came in before that 1GT bearish signal actually came in, and then that was an up move of about say 35% before we have that 1GT bearish signal coming. After that, we have a similar price movement upwards from that point, and we see another 15% up move. Not too bad. And I think right now you are thinking, is it too late to get in, or is it close to the support where I can get in, or is it time to take some profits? I think at this point we have finally early of March broke above that $1 psychological resistance. All right, and now it's become a psychological support. That is a good sign. We are still looking to hold above it, and I think in the past we see prices briefly dip below it and quickly recovered as well. So this is a good sign. I think that there are buyers looking to see if they can get like a bargain on those on this counter, especially if prices dip far enough. You actually see buyers actually come back in. Good sign. But we also want to take note that the longer term moving average is looking good at this point, finally sloping up and still remaining up as well. So with that trailing support right around that 95 cents level, I think prices are trading close to that $1 level. Could this be a level to get in? I think perhaps if we are definitely able to hold above this $1, no need to say that is a good sign. That's a good sign. We are forming a new support, a new high. But I think the upside towards that 110 should be in mind as well. Because this is a multi-year high. You don't know whether prices will continue to hit higher above that 110. But I think that is still forms a pretty good trading range for you. $1 to 110, about 10%. That is still a good trading range if you would like to get in as well. But I think if this $1 is not able to hold, you may want to have a little bit of a stop loss plan. I would say below this $1 level, to get out, especially if you do not want to see prices hit back towards their next support of 90 cents. So that is another 10% of downside. So I would say if you are looking to get in, Maggie, you may want to take into account like a little bit of a risk to reward, up, down 10%. But if you're able to, see prices break above, I would say break above that 110 level, I think that's a good sign. That's a good sign. You may see like another 1 GT bullish signal come in, prices head towards that 120 level. Then I think yes, I think then you are in for a good ride. Maybe another 10 to 16%, the same up move, from previously 10 to 16%. Not too bad at this point, but what you do not want to see, of course, is another 1 GT bearish signal come in and then prices start to hit back lower. All right, okay, so that's just a quick comment on Hong Leong Asia. Z, can you bring us through the next one?
Okay, thanks, Bervyn. Let me just share my screen quickly. Okay, so the next one will be Sembcorp Industry. So Lam is actually asking, Sembcorp Industry good to sell or to hold, right? So let's take a look at Sembcorp for its trend, right? So from half of the year since 2023, from June all the way to where we are at now, right? 2023 for I think about 1.5 years or so lah. We saw that price is kind of like just going sideways, not much of a movement. But the key thing here is that, right, when price is actually going this manner, it has been testing this level consistently, and that level will be at this 580, right? So you see right over here one time, right, prices went back up again 2 times, and then nearly, this is nearly, but didn't really go above this level, right? And then here nearly again, here nearly again. So this level, right, at this 580 has been tested multiple times for the past year or so, right? And back then it was actually a resistance level. So this 580, right, is a resistance level that we want to give more weight to because it has been tested multiple times, right? And eventually somewhere in March, somewhere in Feb, somewhere here, yeah, right over here, right? This is where price actually managed to break and hold above this 580, which is one of the crucial level that we have just mentioned, right? So price managed to break and hold above. This is also where we saw a 1 GT bullish signal coming out. At this point in time, there is no 1 GT bearish signal yet, right? And prices went up all the way up to about this 650 level, where we then see some selling pressure coming back in. There's some gap downs, and then price went back to retest this 580. And one thing that I want to highlight right over here would be this candlestick, right? This candlestick right over here. And one thing about this is that this candlestick has a very long lower shadow. So this long lower shadow, especially when it's near this support, which is this 580 support level, resistance turns to become a support, it's actually a good thing, right? Because that means that buyers are actually pushing the price all the way back up during the trading session itself. So this is actually a pretty bullish candlestick. Even though it's red, it's still pretty bullish because of the long lower shadow. And that implies that there's more buying pressure at this level, right? So right now, price is actually trading about $6.31, right? And it's actually heading to test this 650 resistance that we have just pointed out, right? So if prices is actually able to break and hold above this 650 levels, potentially where can we see price heading towards? So same thing, we actually did a projection up. This would be near the 720 level, right? This 720 level. And as of now, the short-term trend definitely still look very firmly intact because of the 20 days moving average is actually still pointing up, right? The longer-term trend rate and the blue line, it still looks pretty good. At least it's not pointing down. It's gently going up, right? Gently going up. So in terms of, let's say, Lam, you are thinking of taking some profits, right? There's no wrong for you to actually take some profits near the resistance at about the 650 level right over here as well. Perhaps you can consider to take some partial profits as well, right? If you want to take full profits, that's also fine. There's no wrong to take profits near a resistance. We always tell our clients no wrong to take profits, because if you take profits already, the money is yours. You put the money in your pocket, go and drink kopi, go and buy some things, right? At least you will still feel great, right? But it will help you on your emotional side of stuff, right? When you're actually doing trading. So maybe you also want to take some partial profits as well, keep the balanced position to continue to ride the uptrend upwards. That is also fine. All right. So that would be for Sembcorp Industry. I hope some of the levels, maybe you can take note of some of the levels and set some price alert as well. Okay, so that would be for Sembcorp. I will pass the time back to Bervyn to cover the next stock.
Thanks, Z. Okay, so I think the next stock I'd like to cover in RLG. RLTKW993 is asking for CityDev sell. Okay, good question. At least it's not a CityDev buy. Okay, so I think right here we can see CityDev from the time sometime towards its high. Let me just zoom back a bit. In 2022, we have, I mean, since then we have what you call lower highs forming year on year, heading into 2024, coming into 2025. We actually see those highs getting lower and lower and lower and lower. Not much strength in the counter, and pretty much after their recent family saga so-called in court, prices briefly dipped below that $5. Right now we are back above that $5 level. Let me clear this up, my drawings first. Above that $5 level once again. So, but is this a good sign to buy? I wouldn't say that, because we still got that 100-200 days moving average, pointing down. That longer term trend not too good. You don't want to be trading against the trend. You don't want to be buying something when everybody is selling, because I think you pretty much have heard this saying from Joey many times: the cheap can become cheaper, right? The cheap can become cheaper. What's there to say prices must hold above the $5 level because you got it? Could go lower as well, but I think what the most important thing now is to identify that this $5 level is one of those levels that if it breaks below that, could form or could signal the continuation of this downtrend. So I think, but a little bit of saving grace, we actually see that the 20 days moving average had been moving rather stably, pretty much sideways, I would say, for about a month or so already. Yeah, but if this level is broken, this $5 level is broken, I think the potential downside could be towards that 470 level first. Why? It is because I think if you just do a simple projection from the next resistance, or that temporary resistance that you can expect from city development, you would see that it's around the same, that 530 level. Previously prices have tested this 530, not able to hold above, came back down. So if we were to project, Z have projected upwards for you, so now it's just a projection downwards. So I think that would show that the next downside could be towards that 470 level if that $5 level doesn't hold. So if we were to just, let me turn on the 1GT buy and sell signals. Just change this color here. Okay, we have obviously not much 1GT bullish signals. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 1GT bearish signals. I mean, definitely shouldn't be leaning on the buy side, but I think if this $5 level is broken, perhaps you need to consider like a stop loss plan, or a plan to limit your losses, or to get out first and wait for prices to stabilize, or maybe even look at other opportunities. Because let's see here, right here, the trailing resistance is about that 517 to 520 level. So yes, pretty much tested it a couple of times, 1, 2 in the last 3 weeks or so, not able to break above it. Thus, we don't have a 1GT bullish signal, coming in just yet. So still, or the indicator is still showing that it's a little bit bullish or bearish at this point. Definitely do not want to be buying a counter like this. I think there are many other opportunities out there. I mean, try not to trade against the trend. So that is it for city development. I think I can pass the time back to Z one more time.
All right, thanks, Bervyn. Okay, so I saw Alex is actually asking, can take a look at Riverstone. But before that, let me just recap some of the stocks that we have already covered, because I saw through some of the comments, right, some of the stocks have already been covered previously. So I think Xiang Xiu is actually asking about the resistance of Parkway Life, which Bervyn already covered, and also Genting Sing by Esther as well. Okay, so let me just recap, right, what are the stocks that we have already covered, and if you have missed them, no worries, later on after this live show, and you can actually take a look at the replay at Joey's YouTube channel. Okay, so the first stock that was being covered was Yangzijiang Shipbuilding. Second is Bumitama Agri. Third is SIA. Fourth is Valuetronics. Then we have Yangzijiang Financial Holdings. And then we have Centurion, right? Centurion. 7 is Parkway Life REITs. And 8 would be the DBS stock, followed by UOB, which is the 9th, and OCBC being the 10th, right? Then the 11th stock that we have covered so far is IFast, followed by Genting, which is the 12th stock that we have covered. Then next would be Leong Asia, right? Leong Asia. And 14 would be Sembcorp Industry. And Bervyn has just covered CityDev. That will be the 15th stock that we have covered so far. All right. So now I'll be covering the 16th stock, and that would be Riverstone. Okay, so let's take a look at Riverstone, right? So for Riverstone, the uptrend for this counter still looks pretty good and intact, right? Because for over the past year, since 2024 to where we are at right now, the red and the blue line still is heading up, right? But there is some short-term weakness, right? There's some short-term weakness. We'll get to that in a bit, all right? But over the past couple of years, past couple of months, right? In 2024, from May all the way to November, this is where we actually saw some sideways movement going on, right? Prices went all the way up to about this $1, which is a psychological level, right? And this is where we have a 1 GT bearish signal coming out. Prices came back to retest this support at about 84 cents, right? At about 84 cents before price breaking above the $1 and head up to 110, right? So over here, the support would definitely be at this 84 level right over here, because prices have retested it multiple times. And in terms of the immediate resistance, it will be at this $1 level, right? Because this is where we actually saw selling pressure come back in, right? Subsequently, of course, price went up all the way to 110, went sideways for a bit, right? Before actually breaking back down below the $1. So the $1 now, effectively, it is actually the immediate resistance that we have actually drawn right over here, and the support would be remaining at about 84 cents, which we have explained right over here, right? So right now we are actually seeing a 1 GT bearish signal coming out not too long ago, somewhere in January. I think it's January, right? 28th of January, right over here. And this is where prices started to head down, and we also see that the 20 days moving average, right, from January has started to show signs of weakness, right? And it has been going down and down, and it has first broken below the 100 days moving average, the red line right over here in March. And now it seems like it is attempting to break below the 200 days moving average, which is the blue line, right? Because there is still no signs that the green line, right, is actually like flattening out or heading sideways. It is still actually pointing down. So that is not a good sign in terms of the short-term strength, right? Short-term strength. So for Alex, I'm not too sure if you're thinking about accumulating, or you're thinking of selling, or you're already holding some positions, right? But let me just cover both sides, okay? So in terms for those of you, right, who are actually looking to actually accumulate for this position, right, I would say not to rush in first, because right now we are still seeing some short-term weakness. What we want to see is that the 20 days moving average to flatten out, and at least we are able to see some buying pressure returning. So something like this, right, will be great. So hopefully we are able to see some buying pressure returning. I'm not too sure, right? Somewhere maybe near the 880 or maybe near the 90 cents psychological support, right? Hopefully we are able to see some stabilization like that, and the 20 days moving average at least starts to point sideways first, right? Because now it's still heading down, not so good. Okay. And if, let's say, for those of you who are thinking of thinking to take some profits, right? Take some profits, where would that be? Potentially that would be near this $1 psychological resistance right over here. So this would be the potential sell zone that you can look to actually take some profits, right? Okay, so right now, like I mentioned, there is a 1 GT bullish signal. There is no 1 GT 1 GT bearish signal right over here. There's no 1 GT bullish signal yet. So perhaps what you guys can do is also to add an alert, right? To add an alert for the one good trend buy or sell alert, to at least to alert you that if there is any bullish or bearish signal coming back up, to actually tell you when is a good time to actually relook into this stock to position yourself for entry again. Okay, so to know more about the 1 GT strategy, right, you can actually attend one of the free webinars that Joey is actually having the next week on 25th. I think Bervyn will actually put the link in the chat for you guys again. Feel free to register for it if you're free to learn more about the one good trend strategy. All right, so that would be for Riverstone. I will pass the time back over to Bervyn to cover the next Singapore stock.
Thanks, Z. Okay, let me just change my screen here. Okay, so I think, let me see, what do I want to cover? I think William just asked, okay, Food Empire. Choy is also asking about Food Empire. So I think let's cover Food Empire. I think we have seen a very, very, very good run up after that prices, that $1 resistance finally giving way. I think when was that? That was in February 26, right? February 26. Yeah, great. Prices finally broke above that $1. Quickly rise very, very fast, very, very quickly towards, our current level right now. It's about 34%. It's about 34%. A pretty good run up in less than a month, I would say. And that was after prices had consolidated under that 105, between that 105 to that 95 cents level for pretty much about 6 months or so. That is a good sign that buyers are coming back in. Buyers are coming in for this counter, and we are at the start of, say, a longer term uptrend. You can finally see that 100 days moving average crossing above that 200 days moving average. So will it hit higher? I don't know, but I can tell you that the resistance right now looks to be about that 145 level, where it was the previous high early 2024 right here, where actually we consolidated a little bit, not able to hold at that level, and we see prices fall very, very, very quickly. So I mean, definitely some of you are holding on to this counter for sure. Then what I would actually suggest would be to actually look out for that trailing support and resistance. Right now, of course, we see a trailing support because prices are heading higher. It is actually trailing the prices quite a little bit. All right, so if this is the breathing space given to Food Empire and it is broken, definitely not very good. Not very good. We want prices to be consistently able to hold above that trailing support. So thus, if this trailing support is broken, I think you should consider like a stop loss plan according to this trading support to lock in some profits, even though prices start to potentially could U-turn or could face some profit taking close to that 145 level. But of course, I would say the nearer term support would be around that 125 to about that 130 level. I would say would be a potential good level to watch out for to accumulate this counter, especially if that 20 days moving average starts to catch up a little bit, or show a little bit more bullishness that's coming into the counter as well. So can set some alerts. All right, you can set some alerts right here, Wing Choi, closer to that 130 level, to let yourself know that it would be a good time to get in. So I think that is still potentially not too bad, an upside of about 11%, 11 to 12% to that 145 level. And if we do a projection upwards, you could see prices head towards that 160 level if that 145 gives way. But I think let's see how many 1GT bullish signals we have gotten so far. Okay, we got two 1GT bullish signals that actually came in right before prices actually broke above or broke above that 105 resistance at that point of time. All right, but as of this point, these two signals are still valid. We do not see like a third one recently or anything like that. So perhaps when the 145 level is broken, we could see another 1GT bullish signal coming. So I think you could also remember to set up that alert to alert yourself for that buy or sell alert coming in from that 1GT Pro indicator. Let yourself know that that uptrend could continue and potentially head towards that 160 level, which I would say is an all-time high as well. But we are heading towards that 145 first. We have to break that 145 first before we can see any upside. All right, so let's also watch out for any of those bullish candlestick patterns. Right now, 4 days ago we saw a pretty bullish candlestick, but I would like to see that bullish candlesticks, be a little bit closer to that 140 level. I think that's where it will be a better confirmation that maybe we could see another breakout happen as well. All right, so that's a very, very quick one for Food Empire. Z, can you bring us through the next stock?
Okay, thanks, Bervyn. Okay, let me just share my screen. Okay, so the next stock that I'm actually covering, right, will actually be CNMC GoldMine. So I saw Bakxiong, right, is actually asking what is the support for CNMC GoldMine, right? Okay, so let's take a look at this stock. So first thing first, right, if we take a look at this stock, right, we can see that the candlestick, right, it just by purely looking at the chart alone, this is more of an illiquid stock compared to if we look at, you know, just now like DBS, OCBC, right? Because sometimes we might see some days, right, that it is just like a dash, a line, right? That means that open, close, the same, right? So when we actually see this, it can tell us that this stock is rather illiquid, or maybe the volume is actually not that high. Okay, so for this CNMC GoldMine, it is related to gold, right? And as we all know, like, you know, gold kind of has been going up and up. The price of gold has been going up because of, you know, the volatility and uncertainty in the market, right? So I believe this has also reflected in this particular counter as well, right? And since July last year, right, this is where we actually start to actually see price heading up, right? And that's where we also get more confirmation from the moving averages as well. The red, the green, and the blue, and all of them actually also starts to head up. And this is also where we actually saw multiple 1GT bullish signal actually appearing, right? And prices went all the way up to this 28 cents, this 28 cents level. And this is where we saw two 1GT bearish signal coming out. And this level, right, it's also a level whereby we saw some selling pressure over there, because that's where price is unable to break above it, it's kept below it, right? And then that's where selling pressure came in, push price back down, move sideways again before breaking above that level, right? So I would say 28 right now would actually be one of the support level that maybe you might want to take note, right? This 0.28, because when price actually break above this 28, went all the way up to this 34 cents, right? To this 34 cents, this is where we saw a 1GT bearish signal coming back in, push price back down, and price once again retest this 28 cents. So this 28 cents has actually been retested, right? And this is where we saw another 1GT bullish signal coming out, and this was just a couple of days ago on the 18th of March last week. So right now price is trading at about 34 cents, right? Because this is live, and it seems that it is actually testing this 34 cents level right now, which is the resistance level, right? So Bakxiong, if you have to ask me where is the immediate support level, I mean, at this point in time, price is still kept below the 34 cents, right? So I would say the support level, the immediate support level definitely would still be around this 28 cents level. But of course, I cannot forecast and foretell whether the price will actually break above this 34 cents or hold above it, you know, the next couple of weeks. But if that actually happens, right? If that actually happens and price can actually break and hold above this 34 cents, right? So what essentially happened was that this 34 cents actually was a resistance, right? It will then be turned to become a support level. And if price can actually hold firmly above this 34 cents, this could also be a potential buy zone to actually look at as well. This is provided that price is able to hold firmly above this 34 cents, right? And this would be considered a breakout strategy as well. But of course, that being said, when it's a breakout strategy, it means that it's more aggressive, and that's where you also want to have a trading plan in place to actually protect your downside. Okay, so if price is actually able to hold above this and break above it, right, then where are we potentially seeing price heading towards, right? So one thing that we can do, like always, we always do like a projection upwards, right? So that would be around this 40 cents right over here. And 40 cents is actually considered as a psychological resistance as well. Okay, so I hope that are some of the levels that maybe perhaps you might want to set some price alert on to let you know if you know price is actually able to break above this 34 cents, or you know if its selling pressure is relatively strong here, it can come back down back to this 28 cents as well. Okay, so I hope that helped Bakxiong. I will pass the time back over to Bervyn to cover the next stock.
Thanks, Z. Okay. Okay, so it's right now 12:10. I think maybe we should each run through one more stock before you review or we review our bonus stock. Okay, so perhaps the last requested stock I will do is this. I think Jimmy was asking HST. I'm hoping looking at the correct ETF, the Hang Seng Tech ETF by Lion-OCBC. All right. Okay, so this is what we have here. I think over the past, I would say 2-3 weeks, the Hong Kong tech counters have been showing strength. They have been showing strength. They have been doing very well. They have awoken from their sleep or awoken from their slumber. You know, they have reversed, some of those counters have reversed from a downtrend to an uptrend already, and this ETF actually tracks them. All right, those that are listed on the Hong Kong Exchange or the Hang Seng Index. Okay, so then right now, where are we for the tech ETF? We are still being kept under that $1, that $1 psychological resistance, not being able to hold above it. We still see selling or sellers still very, very keen to take some profits when we arrive at that $1 level. But I think on the flip side, if we were to take a look at that 100 days and 200 days moving average, let me just turn this off first. Okay, so 100 days and 200 days moving average, we saw that it had finally started to slow up gradually, showing signs that, is this a sign of a recovery, or is this, just a temporary rebound and will we sell back down? I think as long as we have this temporary support of this about 90 cents coming in and holding, we have actually rebounded once from it earlier this month, headed back towards that $1, and I think as of yesterday and today, we're selling down a little bit again. But if we look at the 20 days moving average, it is, although it's looking like it's gonna be pointing down a little bit. Let's see if will it flatten out soon and we are able to hold above that 90 cents. I think, Jimmy, I think this is one of those levels that you ought to be, looking out for, because if this level doesn't hold, when you agree that it looks like prices could head back towards this 80 cents level, where it was previously a resistance and then now turning into a support. So I think that's very, very close to that 100 days moving average also. So you want to take note of these key levels to, lock in. Maybe if you're holding onto some profits, you can lock in some profits if the prices break below these key levels. But if I were to turn on that trailing support and resistance, you could see that, prices or the trailing support is heading up slowly, still giving that index or the ETF a little bit of space to breathe, but of course you don't want it to be breaking below this trailing support. So with 1, 2, 3 bullish signals or 1GT bullish signals that are still in play, I would say that if prices break above this $1.10, this $1 psychological resistance, we could see it head towards that 110 or maybe about that 110 level. Firstly, then we can potentially see another 1GT bullish signal actually come in right here, right around here, this level. If it breaks and hold above, I think that's a sign that the recovery is continuing to be in play. The uptrend reversal, the reversal into an uptrend is still in play, and then those potential levels to accumulate could be closer to the 90 cents level. Or if you are a little bit more aggressive upon like a confirmation or a breakout above that $1 level, that's another level to be consider for an accumulation as well. All right, Jimmy, that is for Hang Seng Tech for Lion-OCBC. All right, Z, can I pass the time to you for the last requested stock for this evening or this live session?
Sure. Let me just share my screen quickly. Okay, so the last stock that I'll be covering for today, right, from you guys is actually Rex, right? So I saw Henry is actually asking, can see Rex. Okay, so let's take a look at Rex counter, right? So Rex from 2024 to 2025, it hasn't been doing so well, right? Because this is where, we see that right over here in February 2024, this is where we actually saw weakness returning back to the counter. The 20 days moving average has crossed below the longer term moving average, and subsequently a few weeks later, right, we actually get the longer term downtrend confirmation, whereby the blue now is above the red and it's above the green, and then it actually went on down even lower, and the red is above the blue, the blue is above the red and above the green, right? And this is where we also have more 1GT bearish signal coming out as well, right? So it has been going down, and then it has been forming lower highs as well, like what we have seen over here. And the uptrend, okay, I wouldn't say uptrend reversal, but because now right over here, we are seeing some signs of strength returning, not uptrend reversal yet, but seeing some signs of strength returning right over here in October, right? Because this is where we actually see short-term strength returning, breaking above, but right here is tested, the blue, the green line, right, actually tested the blue line, but I need to break above it, came back down, right? But subsequently, it was here, whereby the green line has actually also crossed above the blue line, and here is the longer term trend confirmation. So this period of time from October to February, right, this is where we actually saw some strength returning back to this counter, right? And this is where we saw a 1 GT bullish signal coming back in, and this is where price rally all the way up to 22 cents. Right, let's see how much is this. Okay, so from here all the way to about here, this is about a 52%, right? About a 52% rise in just a couple of days, actually even in a week, in about a week, right? So for this stock, Henry, I'm not too sure if you're actually thinking of buying this stock or selling this stock, or you're already holding on to this stock. But right now, when price actually approached this 22 cents, this is where we saw selling pressure come back in. A 1 GT bearish signal actually came back in as well, and price actually went back all the way down to actually retest this level right over here, which is the support level at about this 14 cents, right? This level right over here, this 14 cents level right over here. So right now, I mean, price still seems to be looking holding above this 14 cents. It still has not broken below this level yet, but what we want to see is this 20 days moving average, right, starts to flatten out first, and price is actually able to hold above this 14 cents first. Because if it continues, right, this 20 days moving average continues to go lower, definitely we will see more weakness returning, and this is where very highly the price might break below this 14 cents support level and head lower towards, probably towards this next support that we are looking at. This one of the key support level, in fact, that we are looking at is around this 9 cents level right over here, right? So hopefully we are able to see price hold above this 14 cents. Not too sure, right? But as of now, it still looks fine. If price does not hold above this, this is potentially we might see more weakness returning back to this counter, and it might head towards this 9 cents. So that is where we want to have some stop loss plan in place, to have a trading plan in place as well, in case price were to actually reverse like this. All right, so that would be for Rex. I will pass the time over to Bervyn so that we can actually start sharing our bonus stock for today.
Thanks, Z. Okay, let me just change this for a little bit. Okay, so I think we covered quite a little bit of stocks. I think a total of 20 stocks so far, but I also saw that there's a little bit of a question in the chat as well. So I think Arthur is asking, is the 1 GT signal at real time? Currently using the 1 GT light. It sold some shares this morning. I think Sembcorp. I think we covered Sembcorp just now as well. I think Z was the one that covered Sembcorp. Is there any signal at this point today? Not yet, but I think if you are seeing the signal, you are probably on a lower time frame chart. Are you on the 5-minute chart, 10-minute chart? You may see the signals. Yes, the signals are live. So for example, if you're looking at my screen, if the prices break above, say, the 645, there could be a 1 GT bullish signal that could come in. But if the prices within the day closes below this $6.45 level, maybe you will not get that 1 GT bullish signal. It will automatically be disappeared, or it will not show up at the end of the day. Yeah, so we have to determine, although the signals is live, it is good to always also look at the closing price of the day to determine whether is that signal still valid at the end of the day or not valid anymore. All right, okay, so before me and Z review our bonus stock for today, just want to check with everyone, are you guys receiving value for today's session? I hope. I mean, of course, we didn't cover everybody's stock. We try our best, but I've been going on for about 2 hours already. Yeah, we hope that you're able to get some value from today's session. If you're able to have some value, or you found some value today, maybe you can just type V in the chat, and we know that, we will be back next week to continue to join us for this session as well. Type V in the chat right now to let us know. Let's see, I change my V, David V. ABC V, Leong V, okay, Kenji V, Chiseng V, George V. Very, very good. Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for the encouragement, guys. I think everybody is able to get more value. Yeah, great. David V, Yen V, Colin V. All right. Okay. So let me just go through the bonus stock or my bonus stock before Z reviews her bonus stock for this week for the Singapore market, of course. So on my end, my bonus stock for today will be this counter called Keppel Corp. I think nothing new. I think everybody has heard of Keppel Corp. If you heard of Sembcorp Industry, you would have probably heard of Keppel Corp as well. So why is it a stock that I'm thinking, or why is it in my bonus stock? I think it has been showing a little bit of lagginess, or say it's a little bit behind Sembcorp Industries move up. And I think potentially with one of those good moves that actually came in yesterday, potentially we could see more upside for Keppel Corp. Why would I say that? I think so far prices had been, since January, been kept under that 690 level, still under that $7 resistance as of today. But we are seeing a little bit of an up move, a rebound, especially from that 660 level. I think the 100 days moving average have started to point up, although that 200 days moving average is still a little bit flat. It's very, very close to that 660 level. So I think, potentially, not saying it will happen. I'm saying that if that $7 resistance level, $7 nearer term resistance level, psychological level, is finally able to give way, maybe perhaps something like this, finally breaking above that $7 level, we could see that upside back towards that $7.40, previous high. I think it has made a pretty good recovery since its low in August of last year. Thus far, I think the recovery has been about 18, 19, 20% thereabouts, and we start to see the moving averages show us that maybe buyers are feeling that we could push these prices higher. I think it's a little bit undervalued at this point, but with these two levels, 690 and $7 level, I think prices are trading right between it, depending on where the prices head towards. If the prices break below that 690 level, potentially it could head back towards that accumulation or that buy zone of that 660. However, if prices break above that $7, that would represent, a pretty good upside still of another 5 to 6% towards that 740 level. So if I were to just turn on my trailing support and resistance line, you could see that right here yesterday prices had broken above that 690 trailing resistance. So if I were to turn on my 1GT buy or sell signals right here, the 1GT bullish signal has just came out. It's about a day old at this point, still very fresh. So if prices are able to break above that $7 level, maybe another 1GT bullish signal could come in. So I think right now, this is one of those counters on my watch list. I have the alert set up for this counter to let me know that that $7 level is finally being breached. Those alerts at 702, 703 to give me that confirmation that a new support could be forming. So I think this is Keppel Corp, my bonus stock for today. Maybe let Z bring you through her bonus stock for today.
All right, thanks, Bervyn. Okay, so my bonus stock for today, right, will actually be ST Engineering. So actually, just now I saw a lot of your comments were also actually asking about ST Engineering, but no choice. Okay, I have to keep all the way to the end as a bonus stock to share with you guys, because this has already been in my bonus stock since I think January, at the start of the year, right? Since January, when this 1GT bullish signal first came out. So now the thing is that, of course, over the past couple of weeks, right, ST Engineering has been making a lot of movements and it has been going up, and a lot of people have been asking us, oh, okay, so what do you think about ST Engineering, right? Is it time to sell? Is it time to buy? So let's take a look at it now, okay? So without further ado, I don't have to talk more about the trend because definitely the trend we all know is actually looking great, right? And plus the price have been going up for over the past few weeks, right? So the latest 1GT bullish signal that actually came out was actually on the 23rd of Jan, right? So this is also somewhere where we actually first covered this stock in our AMAS live as a bonus stock as well. And since then, price has already risen up almost close to 50% in just about 3 months, right? In just about 3 months. So for those who have, accumulated some position, bought in some stocks when we actually first covered it, right? And right now you're thinking whether you are thinking of selling, right? I think that's fine. I think it's actually fine to actually lock in some profits, especially when the profit has really risen about 50%, right? Don't be greedy. Actually lock in some profits first, take some partial profits, maybe 1/3, maybe half, and then balance, you can continue to ride the uptrend. Okay, so in terms of this right now, we can see that this was some of the levels, the support level that we have actually drawn previously, right? So the first support level right now to actually take note will be around this 580 level, right? Because this was previously where we actually covered that this area right over here near the support is where we can potentially accumulate some positions, even though price have already risen up. Let's see, from this day to here, it has risen up about 20% in about 1 week, right? So this was the area, the support area about 580, where some of them may consider to actually accumulate some more position. It doesn't mean that when a stock is actually going up, you cannot buy more, right? When a stock is good, you can still buy more. But the problem is that a lot of times people, they always think that, wow, the stock actually went up so much already, it's more expensive. Then it's a bit hard for them to actually put in the money to actually buy more. But if the stock is good, why not, right? And it keep breaking resistance, it is also a good sign, right? So this was actually one of the first level, 580, right? And subsequently, right over here, we actually see some resistance at about this 630, where selling pressure came back in, pushed price back down because of this long upper shadow that we have seen here. Eventually, price managed to break and hold above it, right? And despite having this candlestick right over here, right, whereby we actually saw a very long upper shadow, which means that there's more selling pressure. But eventually, when at the end of the day, when price actually closed, it's still closed above this 630, right? Which is the new higher support that we are actually looking at. So for those who are asking, right, whether can you still buy into ST Engineering right now? I would say right now at this point in time, if you're asking me about 670, I would say I wouldn't rush in to actually buy it. Where would I potentially look towards? That would be near the support level at about this 630 right over here. This is where you can potentially set some price alert as well to see if prices is actually able to come back down, retrace a bit, and then this is where you can potentially think of positioning yourself for entry, right? And as of now, near the $7, $6.95, $7, this is where we actually saw some selling pressure coming back in, right? Especially today, we actually saw quite a long red candle right over here. This is where, profit taking probably happens, right? Because that's where some people actually queue to sell near the $7 psychological resistance, right? And then this is where we actually saw this red candlestick happening. So like what I mentioned, perhaps this is where you can actually set some price alert at this near this 630, right? So perhaps maybe let me just do a very quick one, right? Let me just right click, set alert, right? So maybe I want to set at about 640, near the support zone, right? Near the support zone. And this would be ST Engineering and create. So that is how I just created a price alert for ST Engineering, right? And for those who are thinking of taking some profits, right? There's no wrong to actually take profits near a resistance. Like what we always mention, there's no wrong, okay? So if you want to take some profits near the resistance, that would be perfectly fine as well, near this $7 right over here, which is near the resistance zone right over here. Right over here. But the key thing here is because price have risen up so fast and so much, right, over the past couple of weeks, right? If you ask me if price can it break above $7, I would say I'm not sure, but it can, right? It can break above $7. But would I want to see that? I would rather not. Why? Because it has risen up so fast and so much over the past couple of weeks, right? There is no stabilization, right? There is no way for me to know where the support and the buying pressures are coming back in. So if prices over the next couple of weeks is actually able to consolidate before pushing higher, that is what I want to see, right? Because that is what make the uptrend more sustainable. Because if price keep going up like that, over the next couple of weeks, I mean, of course, everybody happy, right? I mean, the price keep going up, but what happens is that profit taking can come back very fast, and price could actually come back down very steeply and very fast as well. So that is not what we want to see, right? So hopefully, ideally, I would want to see more sideways consolidation, at least some stabilization first, right? Before price continue to push up even higher. Okay, so for those who have ST engineering now, there's no wrong. I say again, there's no wrong to actually lock in some profits first, right? Some partial profits, 1/3, half a position is perfectly fine, right? While continue to ride the uptrend with your balanced position. Okay, so these are some of the levels that perhaps you might want to take note for ST engineering. And yeah, I mean, of course, I like what I mentioned, I do hope to see some consolidation first before it actually push up even higher. Okay, so that would be for ST engineering, and that's my bonus stock for today as well. So Bervyn stock would be Keppel, and this two will be our bonus stock, and we hope that, you know, perhaps if you find some value in them and you think that you like the stock as well, perhaps that's where you can actually add them into your watch list. All right, so we have actually come to the end of our Ask Me Any Stock live session today. Very thankful for all of you guys, about 195 people who are still here with us, you know, after 2 hours, right? So the next session that we have next Friday would be on 28th of March, right? That is where we actually will be covering for US stock. Bervyn will be putting the link in the chat for you guys, so that you guys can, you know, also subscribe to Joey's YouTube channel to be notified whenever we go live as well. Okay, so I hope that today has actually brought some value to you guys, and thank you so much for staying all the way to the end. So that is Bervyn, and my name is Z. So next week, don't worry, Joey will actually be coming back to join us for the US session again. All right, so be sure to come back and join us next Friday, where we will actually cover the US market. All right, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Bye bye. We'll see you
Thank
next
you,
week.
everyone. Have a great weekend. Bye bye.